Okay, so you might be asking yourself, what is Pasenka and where does the tradition come from? Well, it's actually a Ukrainian tradition that was brought from Ukraine, which you can see here is located in Europe, and it was brought over to Canada. So this happened a long time ago. There was a post-World War I wave of immigration, and many Ukrainians came over here, and especially to our community in Timmins, where they began to do work in our mines. And although work in the mine was really difficult and dangerous, the money that they were making belonged to them, and they were able to make a life for themselves here. So their ways of life were different than they were here in Canada, and it definitely affected our community in really a lot of positive ways. So the Ukrainian tradition of Pasenki happens at Easter, where they get together to make Pasenka, and then what they used to do was give the Pasenka that they made to their neighbors as a way of bridging a divide, which actually happened here in our community as well. So then Ukrainians would traditionally make these Pasenka on Thursday before Easter, and then they would bring their eggs to church on Sunday to have them blessed, and then they would just distribute them to their neighbors after Easter Mass on Sunday. So the Ukrainians believe that the eggs are a symbol of life and of renewal. So that is why we are creating our Pasenka eggs today. And I'm going to show you just a few other examples of Ukrainian egg decorating. So just a little note on pronunciation of Pysanky or Pasenka. So despite what you may have heard, around from other people or on the Food Network even, it is pronounced Pysanka, not Pysanka, not Pysanky, it's Pasenki. Pasenka is the singular form and Pasenki is the plural form. So you're probably wondering what Pasenki or Pasenka is. And Pasenka is a Ukrainian Easter egg that is decorated with traditional Ukrainian folk designs using a batik method. And a batik method just means that you're using a wax resist. So you're applying wax to an area and it resists the dye that you're putting around it. The word actually comes from the verb pisati, which means to write. So as the designs are not painted on, but they're actually written on with beeswax. And I'm going to show you how to do it. There are quite a few different types of decorated Ukrainian eggs, and I'm going to show you a few of them. Krashenki from krasiti, which means to color or dye, are boiled eggs dyed a single color with vegetable dyes and are blessed and eaten at Easter. They are what most people refer to as Easter eggs. Krapenki, from the word krapka, which means a dot, and they are raw eggs decorated with drops of wax, utilizing the wax resist technique. The drops do not form any design or shapes, but are applied randomly all over the surface of the egg. Dryapanki, from dryapati, which means to scratch, and they are eggs created by scratching designs into the surface of a dyed egg to reveal the white shell below. Malyovanki, from malyuvati, which means to paint, are eggs created by painting or coloring on an egg. Naklayanki, from the word kleyati, which means to glue, are eggs that are created by gluing objects onto the egg. Listovki, from the word listia, which means leaves, and they are eggs that are created by attaching small leaves and other spring greenery to an egg and then dyeing it. When the leaves are removed, their outlines remain. They're similar to the English pace eggs. Pysanky,
from the word biser, which means beads, are eggs that are created by attaching small beads to the surface of an egg. The egg was coated with beeswax, and then small beads were pressed into the surface to create designs. Travlenki, from the word travlenya, which means etching, are eggs that are created by waxing the eggs and then etching away the unwaxed areas. What do all these symbols and motifs mean? Well, there are hundreds of different named motifs and symbols in Ukrainian folk designs, and for the most part, we really don't know for certain what each one of them means, but we have our own interpretations. The symbols on Pasenki and on other Ukrainian folk arts have been handed down to us from generation to generation, and many were first created back in early Ukrainian prehistory. Over time, and as religions and beliefs have come and gone, symbols have changed their names and their meanings. And in modern times, with the suppression of old beliefs, much has simply been forgotten. But you'll notice that on Pasenki, there are definitely a lot of symbols, one of them being simple geometric figures. You can also see agricultural symbols are very common. There are also plants and their parts like flowers and leaves. We also have a lot of animal motifs that you'll find, like deers and rams and horses and birds, fish, insects, and snakes. There's also Christian religious motifs that you'll find on the Pysanky, as well as symbols of heavenly objects like the sun and the moon and the stars. And you'll also notice the different colors and different combinations of colors on Pasenki that also have their own meanings as well.
Okay, so you might be asking yourself,